Alright, quick update. Took me a couple hours to get all this stuff right, planning and just working with these new connectors. Essentially, I got a solenoid valve and I got the motorized ball valve. That works off of like up to 24 volt power supply. This works off of like I could just plug this into a wall to a 110 socket. So this is 110 VAC. It's actually a little bit heavier, and the solenoid switch, it's kind of cool, but essentially it has to be powered on the entire time for it to be motorized or to stay up. So what happens, this is a little bit of a power savings with this, because once it actually loses power, it returns. So that's one thing. And they have others where you have to reverse polarity, but then with this one, once you actually power it, it stops, and then you go from there. I believe that's how that works. Still learning on these things. So what I did is this had regular like about 16 gauge or 16 AWG wire. And it was pretty all like sealed well here. What I did is I wrapped it in the heat resistant wire harness tape. So I wrapped it in that just to kind of keep it clean and together, and then put a female waterproof connector on there. All right, so goes into there, waterproof, and I also heat shrink wrap the ends. On these, I showed the little heat shrink wrap. I left it out. I left it exposed. With this cable, it's a smaller cable or a smaller gauge. I think a higher gauge means it's smaller. I always forget that which direction. But I think, yeah, these are smaller wires. I think this is like a 22. Yeah, this is like a 22 wire coming out of this motorized ball valve. So I soldered 16. I soldered two 16 gauge cables to it so that I can actually get it into this female connector here on this end. This took quite some time, pretty strong bond, but I'm pretty happy with it so far, and I've tested all of these. Then we go over to our two extension cables, which are male, and this will be pretty much the design I'll have, is that these waterproof cables, this is a 2-prong, and then I also have the 3-prong that I ordered as well. But I'll have the male cables as the extension cables, and then I can solder shorter connections here that I can actually just take off, and I don't have to have long home runs or anything like that. And I mean, this will be in a very tight space, so these cables don't even need to be this long. This is probably about 2 feet or so. Then we go over to each one's unique power setup. So this is for the motorized ball valve. As you can see, I leave, and there's a lot of crimping. There's probably about 3 different crimping tools that I had to use for all of these. I'll get to this one here in a little bit, how inside of this plug, how that's set up. But I have the crimping tool for this one, and going into here for its little connectors, and then you have to push it in. And then with these connectors, they kind of suck, because once you put them on, like, you can't really get this portion here down anymore, so it's kind of hard. So I had to use, like, on one of these connectors, I had to use 2 pliers to actually like put it all together. So it was a freaking pain. But it goes here, the black wire, which is going to be the ground or the negative, that runs all the way through to the power cable or to the power cord or outlet, what have you, or whatever goes into the socket. And then the red is left open, so I can connect it to my relay here. So then once it's connected to the relay, I can, if it's normally closed, then I can leave it open and then close it on at will. So that's pretty cool. And then this goes to its terminal adapter here. It's a screw terminal adapter. And I have these same ends here, over here. And these are really nice, so I can actually get into, it gives me a square surface so that I can actually screw down to this terminal, to these terminal adapters like this, these screw down terminals. Just a little bit closer. and you can get this off of Amazon. But as you can see, it's a square adapter there, and not too much wire, probably about 3 millimeters each one of these. About 3 millimeters is of wire is exposed, and then you crimp it into there. And then I actually have, you know, I touch even the tips of these, and energizes the whole setup. So this is for the motorized ball valve, which has a smaller power supply. And then now this is for the solenoid ball valve. Since my tape job is already coming apart, I'll put a little bit more on there. My hands are super dry, so like been picking up and doing other things, washing my hands between soldering and everything like that. So same female connector here on our end, and then the same thing here with this setup going into the relay, normally closed circuit. And then inside of here, this is a regular plug that you can get at Home Depot. Only 2 prongs are actually set up. I think I'm going to go back and get the 2-prong so I don't use this here. I don't really like to have it to where it's like, hey, listen, if it only needs 2, then I only want it to have 2. So that can get annoying sometimes if you have certain extension cables and things like that. But that shouldn't be a problem because all this is going to a surge protector, which has 3 prongs anyway. So inside of this, I have the forked insulated terminals. So the forked insulated terminals, or heat shrink capable insulated terminals, I heat shrink those, and it's a nice tight fit around them, and it's the forked ones. So then I attach it to the terminal block, and then I screw it down, and then that actually has the mechanical bond there, or the mechanical bond there, and then plug this in, and then my solenoid switch works. Or it'll plug in, and then when I touch these wires, which my relay will do, boom, then the solenoid valve works. So pretty much just took quite a few hours to do, and I was actually moving slow, listening to a lot of music. But yeah. Alrighty, gentlemen. As always, appreciate you. Peace.